Kenichi, and welcome to The View.
I'm Tyler Durden.
I'm Albert Camus.
I'm Father Pamela.
You know, some background information on me is I was born on October 15th, 1844 in Germany. I'm an atheist existentialist who wrote many books around the key concepts of morality, the death of God, the will to power, Übermensch, and eternal reoccurrence. In the last decade of my life, I suffered from insanity and I died August 25th, 1900.
If you are dead, how are you here?
Well, I'm not real, and I'm here, so.
I guess none of us are really here. Anyways, I'm a Catholic priest from Oran, Algeria. My main workings deal with the Catholic Church during a major plague. I'm originally seen as someone who sticks to traditional Christian values. However, through my sermons, it can be revealed I side with Camus on some major beliefs.
I was born on November 7th, 1913 in France. I'm a journalist, playwright, novelist, and philosophical essayist. I have chosen to remove the label of being a modern existentialist. My most impactful work on philosophy would be the twin values of the absurd and the notion to revolt. Tyler, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm an alter ego created by some loser so that he can feel better about his life. How I see things is that we don't live for ourselves. Everyone is trapped in a hamster wheel of consumerism and capitalism. I think most people are living a mundane existence, and the only way out is to live for yourself and live for today.
So the first question of the show is quite the loaded question. Does God exist? And for this question, we are each going to share our thoughts, starting with Father Pamela.
Well, obviously, God exists, or else I, for one, would not have devoted my life to working under him. Aside from that, it is almost impossible to say that God doesn't exist, because there's no other explanation for the unfathomable existence of the entire universe. God is the answer to that question. He is the higher power that instills our morals and puts forth the opportunities for us to live out good lives by worshiping him more than just Sundays. We cannot be free of our weekdays if we only visit him once a week in the church. God exists, and we are all supposed to do what he has set before us in order to have eternal bliss in an afterlife. And when we do not, our lack of love for God causes him to lose patience in us and strike down suffering. So as you can see, God is my explanation for the existence of the universe and us. Boo.
Why live a life trying to guarantee a chance at the afterlife? If you live your life for an afterlife, you're taking away from your life of today. God certainly seems to provide comfort to people, but this cannot amount to genuine meaning because it revolves around an illusion. If God doesn't exist, it's clear he cannot be the source of life's ultimate meaning. There is no higher authority to dictate. If God does exist, how do we explain all the pain and suffering in the world? We could draw conclusions that he's either an imbecile or a psychopath. God's existence would only make life more absurd.
Thank you. Someone who's making some sense around here. All God is for people is an escape from reality. Feeling pain and suffering is what life is made of. You can get on your knees and cry and ask God why you're suffering, or you can accept the fact that this is what happens in life. You're going to go through hard times, you'll experience pain that hurts like hell, and there's nothing you can do about it. But pain is one of the few things in the world that lets us know we're alive. There's nothing that makes you feel more present, more in the here and now, and more alive than pain does. And people use God to avoid this pain. Instead of dealing with it face to face, they use God to escape to some fluffy, happy place. Or even better, they think they're going through shit because it's part of God's plan. The only plan you have is the one you make for yourself. How can you let someone else choose your life for you? What sense of self do you have if you can't even live for yourself?
What does one lose with the loss of the belief in God? What does one get with the belief that the Christian God exists? Conventional moral and religious truths have no meaning to me. TV shows where celebrities contact our loved ones, movies made to show a reason in the suffering, is filling the spiritual emptiness where strong beliefs once stood. People are just creating something to fill the void as long as one is making it believable. Any God might do today. With the death of God, we are losing a loving creator, a reason for our existence, an objective moral code, and an eternal life. This is why we have myths and stories. We crave certainty. There must be a reason for most of us. We have marginalized God's role in our lives by believing in, but not following his rules. Fraud, binge drinking, hooking up, lying, cheating, stealing, not keeping promises, all fly in the face of the true beliefs about reality. Religion is one way people follow morality, but it swallows up the individual into the crowd and is a sacrifice of the one to many to the general happiness principle. That's why I'm saying it is nihilistic to the core and anti-life and ferment. It is the societal propriety, conformism, thou shalt not, anti-nature, anti-instinct, a forcing of one to give up ambition and unique potential over the guilty conscience. Societal rules and norms are in place only for the preservation and flourishing of societies, but these rules and laws do change with the times.
It looks like the insanity followed you into the afterlife.
Anyways, so it's clear God does exist. Camus, moving forward from this, can you explain the concept of the absurd?
Of course. As humans, we have a drive to find meaning in things. If we are unable to find this meaning, oftentimes we try and create it. Our lives are meaningless and will remain so. Why do we do the things we do, and why do we try and live our lives a certain way? I think we often fall into these traps of life and routines because we do not know any better. We do these things to try and feel complete, whole, and meaningful, but we do not have a meaning to life. I feel that meaninglessness is not necessarily bad. If we understand life is absurd, that is our first step of being alive. Those who try and find a meaning to life are set up for failure in the long run. The universe is indifferent to us. Events are out of our control, and we will be faced with meaninglessness. To overcome this desire to find meaning, one can be an absurd hero, one who can embrace the meaningless life. Be an absurd hero and understand that life is ours for the making. We cannot control things that happen, and we have no set destiny. We have the power to make our own. The absurd is trying to find meaning when life is already meaningless.
If I could interject, this can be related to my concept of eternal recurrence. What is eternal recurrence, you all ask? Well, I'll gladly tell you. It is a yay saying to life. And the satisfaction so pure that one would be willing to live the same life over and over again for all of eternity. What if some day or night a demon were to steal you after into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, this life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live it once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and every sigh and every unutterable, small or great in your life will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence. Even the spider and this moonlight between the trees and even this moment and I myself. The eternal hourglass of existence is turned upside down again and again, and you with it a speck of dust.
That's like my myth of Sisyphus.
Oh my god, yeah! It's like instead of the demon is like the rock, and life is like the hill. Yeah, speck of dust. Word, got it.
Okay. This life is not worth living over and over. Maybe if life was all rainbows and butterflies, then yeah, sure, I'd give life a couple goes before I'd want to kill myself. But there's so much more to life than happiness. There's things you don't want to go through more than once. We experience pain, suffering, heartbreak, anguish, hatred, agonizing stress that makes you want to tear your skin off. The list goes on and on. You will never live a life where you don't feel these things. So because of this, I don't think life is worth living more than once. I'll go through it once, but then just put me in the ground. As for the absurd, I agree with Camus. There is no meaning to life, but this isn't a bad thing. This is the best thing about life. If there's no meaning, there's no point, and it doesn't matter what we do. If we're able to do anything, why not do what makes us feel alive? We can pour our existence into buying IKEA furniture, following pop culture, and letting giant TVs burn holes into our eyes. Or you can do something to break yourself out of the consumerism cycle and feel alive.
Father Pamela, you are commenting on the absurd. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, since God does exist, the absurd should not be a concept that I believe in. However, I think that they can exist together, because I've personally struggled with the absurd, especially when it comes to the two constants in life that you set out, suffering and death. During the plague, I gave a sermon about how the explanation for the plague and all of this suffering is because the community did not love God enough. And that seemed fine and good and logical. And he grew so weary that the suffering in my mind was explained by that. His weariness caused him to lash out and show us that we need to come back to him and love him. However, I had a complete change of heart when the life of a colleague's child was lost. There is no pure children who should have to go through suffering and death because they don't know the world and they are still innocent. That is when I realized there's no proof or answer to everything. My faith has clearly defined good and evil for me. However, after this event, when I looked into evil, easily classifying human suffering in the evil column, I faced major difficulty when I looked into the nature of evil, because it makes absolutely no sense for a pure, innocent child to suffer so greatly. So going back to the concept of the absurd, whether suffering is needless or needful, it is here and there's no explanation for why it is. However, Camus, you believe that in this light of the absurd, we all have two choices: to succumb to it and live in fear, or revolt against the human condition and live passionately, which took me a while to grasp.
Whoever wrote The Plague was a genius.
I wonder what purpose does traditional morality serve? Because to me, any objectified morality suppresses, harnesses, controls, and denies the individual's passions, drives, and will to power. Revolting against the human condition takes a master morality and will to power. Tyler, what is your opinion on the different moralities?
The only way to really live is through master morality. Master morality is how you can actually take control of your life and set yourself apart from the crowd. When you get caught up in slave morality, you mindlessly follow the flock like a sheep. And before you know it, you walk right off a mountain. The most pathetic thing in life is that this is the most common type of person out there, like the consumers, the followers, the indifferent. The consumer is a slave to labels. The consumer is the type of person who feels insecure if there isn't a certain guy's name on his underwear, or if someone feels like his life is destroyed because he lost all of his IKEA furniture. If that isn't a slave, then I don't know what is. So instead of living life like a lemming, we can practice master morality and be in control of our lives like a real living being.
You know, what I call slave morality is the danger of dangers. All individuals, even those with the potential to rise over the mediocre mass, are pressured to conform to a smaller, almost ridiculous type, a herd animal, something eager to please, sickly, and mediocre. The slave morality types believe that suffering is a part of life and there's nothing they can do to change it, and value things like kindness, humility, and sympathy. Slave morality individuals are weak and see the master moralities as evil for not suffering as they suffer. Master moralities value things like pride, strength, and nobility. I describe this morality as the morality of the strong-willed. The master individual will seek to pursue their destiny alone to become the best with their values and talents. These individuals possess the will to power. They are the Übermensch. They take control of their lives and forget everything else. They don't care about society. They care about their self, and they're excelling. Yes.
If you're living a life for an afterlife, you can't live your life for today.
Well, During my change of heart, I figured those who are good and have to suffer because it is a constant in life will be compensated with an eternity of bliss. But then I stopped and questioned myself, because I cannot tell a congregation this confidently because I have not yet experienced it and I don't know anything about whether or not there is an afterlife. So I was then put at a crossroads of my own. However, in times of great suffering, we either have to give our all or nothing at all. So going along with master and slave morality, I think as Christians, especially in times of suffering, we have to devote every ounce of our works to saving the people who need our help. And if that makes me a slave to others, as long as I'm doing what I can do to help them, in my mind, I'm living a masterful life.
Well, I think that pretty much rounds up the show today. Thank you everyone for listening, and feel free to share your views with us. I'm Frederick Nietzsche.
I'm Tyler Durden.
I'm Albert Camus.
I'm Father Panelo, and God bless.
Universe bless.